Hello viewers. Well, we've got another interesting game coming up soon. It's a Xenon Racer, futuristic racing game. We're going to talk a bit about this in a preview. So I'm Alan, and I'm joined today again by Kevin.
Hello.
And we're going to talk a little bit about this game and what we're looking forward to before, of course, the game's released next week. And then we'll have a review coming up on the site in due course. So Xenon Racer then, it was first shown about 5 or 6 months ago. And we saw a futuristic trailer, very much a sort of Blade Runner looking city. And immediately it had a nice, colourful, vibrant vibe to it. The cars looked very cool indeed. Had really nice detail in terms of lighting, effects, very polished looking. And it looked very different to everything else being released today. The whole look of it, the cars sliding around, the environments, reminded me of a couple of games. A little bit of Scud Racer, which was a Sega arcade machine, and a little bit of another game called Crash and Burn, which was released on the 3DO back in the sort of mid-90s or early 90s. And it has a wonderful feeling of speed, lots of colour, vibrancy, it's very smooth. But above all, it felt like an old arcade game of years gone by. It's something completely different to everything being released right now. It really appeals to me. So games coming out soon. Of course, there's lots of other content in there as well. But Kevin, you've been looking in the game, finding out what content we can look forward to. What's going to be in there?
Yeah, so they've got obviously the main campaign mode, which features, I think it's about 7 countries in the game. I believe there's about 8 or 9, possibly more, different classes of vehicle. So there's a lot there in terms of variety. And of course, each stage looks very different. You know, like you say, it harks back to that sort of 90s era of games where they're very vibrant, very colourful, very detailed, very sort of very arcade, wasn't it? And they have this nice sort of 3, 2, 1 countdown as well, which gives you that sort of nostalgic feeling. And there seems to be a decent amount of content in the game. We haven't played so much through it at the moment, so we can't speak too much about the campaign, but you know, we can certainly talk about the game mechanics and such.
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly locations look quite defined. I quite like the Tokyo track in particular. I think it's quite zany and bonkers. It's got very tall buildings. Some of that reminds me of kind of a bit of Daytona 2 as well, in the sort of way it looks and feels. I mean, also, there was a game, 90s Arcade Racer, that was coming for like years, and then it turned into vaporware and just disappeared, sadly. That was one we were looking forward to. It's coming to Wii U originally and then just didn't happen, but it has those sort of vibes to it. So, yeah, for me, this is a game I'm looking forward to. We've got a review coming soon. I've been testing it out on the PC and the PS4. I can say right now on the PlayStation, I've been testing it with a wheel and with a controller just to get a feel, see how it works. PC version obviously looks lush, really lush on the PC, and obviously with a powerful PC you can get 60 frames, and that's what you're looking at here. PlayStation version will run at 30 frames. It is challenging initially to learn how to drive with a wheel, but I've got on top of it now. I'll point out that the footage that you see on the PlayStation here, I've had to shrink it down a bit because for whatever reason OBS doesn't like recording in super high quality, but I wanted to, so I recorded in a lower res, but I wanted to show you the PlayStation version used with a wheel there. Initially it was really challenging to get my head around it. It's very much an arcade game, just to stress to anyone watching. This is not a sim, it's an arcade game. It uses a very similar dynamic to Ridge Racer, in the sense that instead of braking for a corner, you lift off the accelerator and press back on, or you can use the brake, or you can use a handbrake. And you'll use all of those methods in different ways for different corners and different situations, depending on the cars you're driving as well. And all the cars in the game will have very different attributes. Now, obviously, we haven't seen all these different stages. There's, like you say, several locations in the game. They're all very defined. They all have a very different look and feel and flow to them, different challenges in their own way. And I look forward to trying them all out in the coming days. But certainly, I think at the moment, Xenon Racer seems like an unusual title. It's something different to everything else that's coming out on the market. Kevin, any particular highlights you're looking forward to trying on the game?
Yeah, just sort of getting through the campaign mode. Just want to see the different locations. We have to unlock them, I believe. So we've only got sort of access to the first few locations, I guess, at this point. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the different tracks are. We've seen glimpses in the trailer, so they do look promising. But it'd be nice to get onto those and see how they feel. But going back to the sort of main mechanics of the game, I guess you mentioned the 3 ways to drift, and although the premise is very simple, you know, you build up boost by drifting around corners. It sounds very simple. There is a fairly steep learning curve to this game, which may surprise quite a few. This really is a game that requires mastery of its controls to be quick and to get through these campaign events. Yeah, there's some time trials in the campaign which are particularly difficult, I might add. Yes. So the game expects quite a high level of skill from the player, and that comes with experience. So it might take you an hour or two to really get your head around the game mechanics, because if you approach it like a traditional racer with braking, setting up for the corners, you're going to be very slow. This is a game that requires you to touch the brakes in very limited amounts, only for the most hardened of hairpins, you know, would you even need to touch the brakes, and even then you can sometimes get away with it if you're set up nicely for the corner. So it is a tough game in that sense. You really do need to spend time with it, because you may be pulling your hair out early on with it, but if you do persevere with it, you will get good at the game, and you will approach turns, you know, you'll slide around these very tight turns that you wouldn't dare do originally. So it's very much a game that rewards player skill, and it is a game that you need to spend a little bit of time with, just getting to grips with the various mechanics in order to perfect them, in order to satisfy the sort of the quite high level it requires from you to get through the campaign. But once it all clicks with you, it is a satisfying game to play. There are a few little frame drops on the PS4 which, you know, it doesn't ruin the experience or anything, but it just occasionally you see a little dip there and you just wish it was a little bit more smoother. But you know, certainly the PC is the game platform of choice here. But overall, so far, having fun with the game. But like I say, it is that sort of steep learning curve. But once you get
I mean, bear in mind, obviously, you know, we've played an early version of the game, so we've not got into it, and also they are still working on optimizing the game. So it'd be interesting to see if the obviously the day one patches improve various different elements in terms of optimization. But I think one of the things you mentioned was the difficulty curve is tough. I mean, the game is tough. You've got to learn the courses before you're really going to progress, and you've got to learn the handling before you progress. Your first few goes, it's going to seem quite weird. You will smack into walls. You will say, what's happening? And then it will just click. Then you get into the zone. It's quite funny. I was with the wheel. I think it's probably even more challenging than with a controller. But when I first played it with a wheel, I thought, oh God, it's impossible. And then suddenly it just clicked and I got it. And now I'm doing clean laps and I'm understanding it. You know, it's still a challenge. It's still very difficult. But I've improved a lot radically in just the time I've used it. But really, it's knowing about when just to lift, as I was saying, when to brake and when to use your handbrake. It's just knowing, and there's a lot of boosting going on as well. You've got the boost that you're generating, and that sort of Ridge Racer style.
And the boost, you can actually tailor the boost to your needs. So you can have like a very powerful boost but short-lived, or you can have a more extended boost that gives you sort of a medium level of extra speed. So you do have that element. Along with that's included in the customization menu. You do have various visual customizations as well as some parts that you can put onto the car. There's like a rear, a sort of middle, and a front wing, aerodynamic wing as well, which you can sort of mess about with. But these will need unlocking through the campaign mode. I believe some of these components unlock through online levels as well, so it sort of forces you in a way to do the online as well, just to get the most out of your cars. But once you've got a car set up nicely, it just sort of adds to the satisfaction of drifting these cars. But you will need to tune a little bit of, you know, here and there with your car and find what works best for you. Are you better with a faster car? Are you better with one that handles better? You know, there's drifting to consider and boosting, as we mentioned as well. So there's quite a bit going on behind, and the customization menu, which sort of you need to sort of tinker with really to find a car that suits your driving style. But like you say, you get into a nice rhythm with this game when you get experience with it, and you always go into that sort of zen-like state where you're just sort of drifting around turns at ridiculous speeds, and it's all sort of coming together. It's those moments that this game provides, you know, the best experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we saw, like a while ago, they had a stream, didn't they, where they had players playing it for the first time, and, you know, they were crashing constantly. And I remember us saying, you know, wow, graphics look great and everything, but the jury's out on the handling, because it's a weird looking handling in some of the trailers, and everybody we'd seen was crashing all the time, and we were thinking, how's it going to be? In actual fact, it just turns out they were a bit rubbish, and you can learn how to play.
In their defence, though, it is a tough game. But
it's a tough game.
It's a game that
to be fair, I did crash a lot when I wasn't too bad. I never crashed as much as they did, but
no,
I am.
Nor would I expect you to, though.
No, exactly. But I am quick with it now, and I think the hard part is hitting apexes is really challenging. Like there are corners that you need to slide into, so you're sliding before you get there. But there are some corners where you drive into the corner, but then you slide late in the corner with a late apex, and it's knowing how to take those corners so you get maximum speed through the corners on the apex. And then, like you're saying, using a boost at the right times and knowing when to use your boost is really important. You know, the AIs just rocket sometimes. I go around corners at really high speed, but you don't know that you're all in the same car. I think the idea is that they all have different sort of weaknesses and stuff like that. So I think it'll be interesting to see in the final game the different locations, and we get to go through it all. And I think what are the final elements that they're working on now that they're going to include in the patch, and just various improvements throughout what they're going to bring to it essentially. But I think, like you say, that just hope that people get through the initial difficulty, because it is weird when you're first playing it, because you've got to get your head around it. To go from, myself from Gran Turismo to this is a bit of a change, so it will take a bit of adjusting for a lot of people, but it is worth it for your arcade thrills in that way, and it does scratch that arcade itch in terms of Sega arcade machine style. But that's it for now. I think we'll have another look at this. I'll be doing a couple of streams at launch on this game, just because I like my futuristic races, as many of you know, and I'll be seeing if I can progress in the career mode in any way with a wheel, and that'll be hopefully on the PC version. So something to look forward to there. We've got your review, Kevin. We'll break the game down.
Yep.
And the game is when's it due out? It's due out on the 25th of March.
I think it's the 26th.
26th. Not long then. Not long. So within a short time of this being released, you'll be able to get your hands on, and we'll have hopefully we'll be able to get to work on the review once we've got the day one version, and then you'll have all that information up on the channel. But there's plenty of videos and trailers. Do check those out, and you'll see some of it in action. And I think that's it for now, Kevin. Is there any other points you thought of in Xenon Racer?
I'm just going to say that you're more or less sort of drifting around every turn when you get good at it. So there's seemingly difficult sort of hairpin turns that you may have approached very cautiously initially. Once you get good at the game, you end up sort of drifting around them, and it's really sort of old school, fast paced, good fun sort of game. But it's getting over that initial learning curve that most people, or many people, will struggle with, I imagine. But once it clicks, it's quite a satisfying game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think learning the tracks is important. Getting your head around the sliding function, it takes a bit of time. And if you're using a wheel, adjusting to the wheel is going to be, it's a different way of playing with a wheel. So the wheel, you're using the brake a bit more rather than lifting on the throttle. Using the handbrake can be a bit tricky with a wheel, and it's got a very unusual type of sort of response system in terms of its overall response. I've got to break that down and play it more to really fully understand the pros and cons of the wheel in comparison to the controller. But we'll do that when we go through the final game and we put together the review. But that's it for now then, Kevin. Thanks for your time today. And viewers, if you have questions about Xenon Racer, do let us know. We'll have some more coverage to come up on the channel on this. Looking forward to it. Something very different, very cool looking, especially on the PC version, which looks lush. And I'll be interested to explore more of the game and see more of the locations. But that's it from me for Kevin and Kevin for now. And there'll be more from us very soon.